Hello and welcome to MythCraft, an epic role-playing saga. What is MythCraft? I'm glad you asked. MythCraft is a new tabletop role-playing game. It uses a D20 system, so it's going to feel very familiar to a lot of you, and similar in many ways to other popular role-playing games. MythCraft has its roots in Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, the Star Wars D20 system, Mutants and Masterminds. It has its roots in a lot of different role-playing games, board games, and video games that myself and the other members of the design team are deeply familiar with and love passionately. In addition to the obvious role-playing games, we draw inspiration from Cyberpunk Red, Call of Cthulhu, Zweihander, though don't worry, it's not as grimdark as Zweihander itself is. Icons, Monster of the Week, movies and shows that we enjoy. We're pulling ideas from a lot of sources. We're pulling mechanics from a lot of sources, and we are fusing them together into what we believe is a truly epic experience. So, how is MythCraft unique? What makes it different than all of these other role-playing games and board games and video games? What makes it its own thing? MythCraft has one of the most robust character creation systems on the market. Like I said, it's a D20 system, but we're coining the term medium crunch. Easier to get into than really chunky games like Pathfinder, but it also has a lot of nitty-gritty customization that you can choose to engage in. You don't need to. If you want to play a simple and streamlined game, we support that. But if you want to be one of the min-maxers that really goes through and figures everything out and builds a character exactly the way you want, you can do that too. And what's great about it is these two playstyles are not incompatible. You can have a table of players. Half of the players can be very streamlined and very story-focused, and half can be very min-maxy and number-crunchy, and they can all seamlessly be part of the same party. MythCraft is designed by gamers for gamers, and so we've taken a lot of time to consider what really needs to be in a game, in a role-playing game, to make it fun. For example, proficiency bonuses are just numbers. And that's about it. And we don't really need them in a game to make a great game. So instead, you can just spend points to really customize exactly how good your character is at something. It's not just a flat, I'm proficient, or I'm not proficient. You really get to curate that to your vision of what your character is. So now let me get into the lore just a little bit, and then we'll move over and talk about some of the specific mechanics that make MythCraft really unique. The lore of MythCraft focuses on the world of Ansera. We follow this world through about 15,000 years across 4 distinct super eons. Super eons are actually 2 billion years, don't worry about it. In this one, they're roughly 2 to 4,000 years. Super eon is a cool word, we're just going with it. The first super eon is before magic is really a thing in the world. It's the ancient world. Civilizations are trying to crop up, they're trying to differentiate themselves and figure out how to make society work. Meanwhile, dinosaurs and titans and kaiju are smashing through the world and just making life a living hell for civilizations, right? You build a wall, and then as soon as that's done, like Godzilla or whatever just comes and smashes the wall down, and you've got to start over. Can I say Godzilla? Sorry, don't sue me, Universal, or whoever owns Godzilla. Does anyone own Godzilla? Someone has to, right? The Tarrasque, the T-Rex, the Tremendous Rex. No one owns the Tremendous Rex. The Tremendous Rex knocks your wall down, and you've got to start over. Oh, and amid this all, there aren't any stars in the sky. The sky is just blank. It's just clouds. Clouds beyond the sun, clouds beyond the moon, just clouds. But when a tear rends the clouds asunder, you look up, and for the first time in thousands of years, you see stars. This takes us into the second super eon, which is your traditional high fantasy, epic fantasy, dark fantasy genre. Magic is discovered. People, as the skies reveal the stars for the first time, magic also becomes a thing for the first time, at least in written history, in written or oral tradition. And people learn how to cast spells, how to use spells to build better civilizations and greater technology. Over the course of a few thousand years, we moved from high fantasy or epic fantasy, traditional fantasy, into steampunk, and we moved from steampunk into the modern era, like a kind of a cyberpunky vibe, right? Like what if magic and technology coexisted and developed together, and then it comes crashing down. We enter into a post-apocalyptic super eon with nuclear radiation and zombie hordes and literal angels and demons fighting in the sky. Just anything that could go wrong does. And finally, after the Unity, those who survive the apocalypse rebuild and they take to the stars, entering into the sci-fi super eon. So those are the broad strokes of lore that we are working with. You'll see traditional fantasy lineages. We've got humans, elves, dwarves, all the regular stuff. We've got some really exciting new creatures that are brand new creations, especially the Kleppen. We're very excited to introduce those. So I've said that MythCraft offers the most robust character creation system on the market. Now let me back that up. I'm going to walk you through 2 levels of character creation. What you get at level 1, what you get at level 2. I'll talk briefly about what you get beyond that, but that'll really give you a sense of how character creation works in MythCraft. Who is that? I don't recognize him. So at level 1, you've got your lineage, human, dwarf, Kleppen. You've got your background, which is usually tied to an occupation. Like if your background is you're a born warrior, then you might be a conscripted soldier. You've got your attributes, which are the different abilities that you have that make up your character. Strength, dexterity, endurance, awareness, intellect, charisma. That's 6 that you'll see in many other games in some capacity as well. Luck and coordination. So we've got 8. Let me move my hands over my mic so you can see. 8 ability scores. And you get 1 specialization talent, and I'll come back to that in just a second. But with your lineage, you get your base features. So let's say you're a dwarf. You get your basic dwarf features, which are like, you've got a little bit of extra health because you're very constitute, like you're built firmly. And then you also get to pick 1 dwarven feature of your choice. And this might be you know rocks really well, you know mining really well. It might be something entirely different that still is relevant to dwarves and dwarven lore within MythCraft. You might be from a tribe of dwarves that has had a really hard time surviving the ancient super eon, and because of this, you have some bonuses to using certain weapons. You might be very sensitive to the ground and get some amount of like tremor sense so that you can detect when like a sandworm is coming to eat you or whatever it might be. But this allows you to just curate your lineage just a little bit so that you can really feel like you are your own individual person within a lineage. No lineage is just a monolith. You choose your background. Let's say you're a born warrior. Great, you get some skill points. We'll get to skills in a little bit. And you get access to becoming a soldier. And then soldier gives you some more skill points, and it gives you the ability to like find food and shelter for free when you're in a territory controlled by like your military organization. Now, lineages and occupations both level up slowly. So at levels 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, and yes, we go up to level 30. It's pretty exciting. You might gradually increase the amount that you know about mining or about stones. Like you could just look at something and immediately know how valuable it is, how old it is, where it's from, these different things, just slowly through developing your talents based on your lineage. Similarly, and this is not directly tied to your character level, so this is really gives you an opportunity to roleplay and interact with the world writ large. Based on your roleplay and based on the kind of MC or Mythcrafter or Game Master that you are working with, roughly every 5 or 6 character levels, your profession or your occupation will increase by 1 level. So if you're a soldier level 1 at like when you start the game, then around level 5 or 6 you'll become a soldier level 2, and that'll give you additional benefits. By the time you're soldier level 5, you might be a whole like like a 5-star general or something like that, whatever the equivalent is in your nation, right? And then you can levy troops to go to war for you. Like, you really get to control the world in a narrative way. That's something that's very important to us as game designers, is we want to enable each of the player characters to shape the world and create legacies that they can really see play out. And so the backgrounds and occupations is really where we get to play with that. It would even be possible to play an entire MythCraft game only using backgrounds and occupations and not even worrying about classes. And, you know, probably not going to do that very much, but it's an option. Now let's focus back in on what you get at level 1. So we've got your lineage. We did that. We've got your background and occupation. We've done that. You get your attribute points, and you assign those out of the 8 attributes, and you get 1 talent point. These are generic things that anyone can do, at least at first, and then based on what you pick, you might unlock additional ones down the road. Like, you might, at level 1, get basic dual wield, and then come back later, let's say at level like 4 or 5, and get dual wield 2 or dual wield 3, building on the different talents that you curate for your character. Why is this so exhausting? I'm just talking to myself in my recording closet. Great, so now we're ready for level 2. At level 2, and at every level after level 1, you get 1 attribute point and 1 talent point. So your attribute point you can spend on any of those 8 attributes, gradually making them better and better. We don't have scores and modifiers. We just have the attribute points. And so if you have 3 points in strength, then your strength is 3. Or if you've got 8 points in coordination, then your coordination is 8. We don't do any math beyond that. Just streamline it, focus on the game. And then your talent point, you can spend however you see fit on whatever talent you want to, as long as you meet the prerequisites. So in my previous example, you can get dual wield 3 once you have dual wield 2, etc. Also, starting at level 2, you can take a class talent. Yes, that means that at level 1, you don't have a class. You can't have a class. At level 1, you are just an adventurer. Starting at level 2, you can either continue to take specialization talents and just you could do a whole classless build if you want to, or you could just wait a few levels and focus on some specializations and then go into a class at a later time, if that suits your fancy. But at level 2, probably most people will pick a class because it gives you a fairly robust stack of abilities that you get for entering that class. So let's fast forward to a level 30 character. You've got all of your different lineage abilities that you took every 5 levels. You're probably like a general or a king or like the world's best historian at this point, based on what you do with your occupations. The world's best historian is as good as a king or a general. As a hobbyist historian, I resent the notion that it's better to be a king than a historian. Got somewhere around 30 attribute points. You get 5 at level 1, so it's going to be more like 34. Meaning that since attributes cap at 12, since attributes cap at 12, you could have almost 3 fully maxed out attributes. Like if you're a berserker and you want to really, really, really focus on berserking, you might have a 12 in your strength and a 12 in your endurance and, I don't know, like a 10 in your awareness or something like that. If you want to be more of a jack of all trades, bard stereotype, then you could go for something like 4 or 5 different attribute points across all 8 of your attributes. Andy is playing Brotato. What is Brotato? Yes, eat my Brotato. It will give you bro strength, of course. Get swole like the bros and go shred the gnar after you eat my Brotato. Yes. And lastly, you have 30 talents. And so you could build a completely classless character. Let's say you take 10 talents in abilities that make you more useful in melee combat. And then you take 10 that make you a better leader or a better socialite. And then you take 10, I don't know, you dip into magic and take 10 in specific magic talents. So you can really create your own class using that structure. Or you can split it up even further and let's say you take 10 in the fighter class and you take 10 in generic like social talents, and then maybe you put 5 in berserker and 5 in ranger. I don't know. There's going to be so many combinations. Like I said, the most robust character system on the market. This is what I'm talking about. You can do whatever you want. You get something at every level, so every level feels exciting and meaningful. Multi-classing is seamless. You know, you just take a new talent. As long as you meet the prerequisites, or if there aren't any prerequisites, you go for it. You do whatever you want within that system. So now, briefly, I'm just going to blast through some of the basic mechanics that make MythCraft MythCraft. Let's go back and talk about those 8 attributes real quick. So you've got your strength, dexterity, endurance, awareness, intellect, and charisma. And then you've got your coordination and your luck. Coordination is not speed. Say it with me. Coordination is not speed. It's not speed. Your coordination determines how many action points you get, and we'll get into that in a minute. We'll get into action points in just a second. And luck allows you to, for a certain number of times per day, re-roll a d20. You don't like the result? You don't like the result your enemy just got? You don't like the result your ally just got? Just re-roll that d20. You could make a character that has maximum luck. You could make a character that has negative luck, and then your MC can make you re-roll just because you have bad luck. Every attribute ranges from -3 up to 12, with 0 being like the average person. So if you've got 12 strength, you're like Olympian or beyond Olympian into like superheroic strength. If you've got a -3 strength, you might have like muscular dystrophy or something, right? Like your other attributes are what make you shine, not your strength. We have a really exciting skills system that plays into the attributes as well. So coordination being its own thing, coordination is entirely focused on your action points and the action economy within the game. But the other 7 stats, or the other 7 attributes, are your skills. So as a MythCrafter, I might ask for a strength check, or I might ask for a luck check. That's a big thing, right? Like you're scrounging around trying to find like some firewood. Make a luck check. Like sometimes it's not really an investigation or a perception thing, so that's where luck comes in, right? Just let's see what happens. Or I might ask for an endurance check or an awareness check, right? Those are the 7 checks that I'll ask for. But we have around 50 specialization skills, or skills, that you as a player get to invest in. And again, there's not proficiency, right? So you just spend points. So let's say you have 5 in climbing and your strength is 1. So if I ask for a strength check just to see if you can like sprint really quickly, that's 1d20 plus 1. But if I ask for a strength check because you're climbing a wall, then that's 1d20 plus 6, 1 from your strength and 5 from your investment in the climbing skill. Very briefly, I'll touch on defenses. In combat, there are 6 defenses. There's your armor rating, which is the one that's normally targeted. And then 5 of your 8 attributes link to a specific defense. So dexterity correlates with reflexes, which is just your dexterity plus 10. So if you've got a 2 in dexterity, then your reflexes is 12. Now we get into action points, which is one of the really exciting things that sets MythCraft apart. So we're going for a true AP, a true action point system, which, I love you, Pathfinder, is not you. Every player character starts with 3 action points, and then for every 2 points you have in coordination, you get 1 additional action point. So if you max out coordination at 12, then that's 6 additional action points, meaning that you would have 9 total action points, the 3 that you start with, plus 6 from your coordination being maxed out. On your turn, you spend your action points to do whatever you want. So we're scrapping the idea that like you can move, you can attack, you can, I don't know, draw a weapon, whatever. You just have your action points with which you can do whatever you want. You want to move 3 times? Spend 3 action points. You want to attack twice? Attacking usually takes 2 action points, sometimes a little bit more. So you want to attack twice? Spend 4 action points. So let's say you're a rogue and you've invested a little bit in coordination so that you have more speed. I just committed the cardinal sin. Coordination is not speed. Let's say you've invested a little bit in coordination so that you have a little more action points each turn. So let's say you've got 5 action points on your turn as a rogue. You're wielding, let's say, a rapier, right? Let's keep it pretty simple. You run up to your enemy. They're far away, so let's say it takes 2 action points to get there. You've got 3 action points left. So you stab them with your rapier. You've got 1 action point left. And so let's say you just spend it to run away, and now they can't attack you. Or, cut, let's run that again. You run up to them, that's 2 action points. You stab them, that's 2 more action points. You've got 1 action point left, and you save it. You can spend it on reactions. Let's say they run away, and you have the ability to do some kind of like reactive attack when someone retreats. That's not a thing by default, but let's say you have it. You stab at them real quick, and that's your action point. And then you get the 5 back at the beginning of your next turn. Let's say, one last time, you run up, 2 action points. You attack them, 2 more action points. You've got the 1 left, so you save it. You don't spend it, and now your turn rolls back around again. You now have 6 action points. Your normal 5 plus the 1 that you saved. And so with that, you just attack 3 times and just decimate them. Decimate them! Now, of course, you are limited in how much AP you're able to hold over each turn. It's going to be half your level plus 1 rounded up. So you can hold over 2 AP at levels 1 and 2. You can hold over 3 AP at levels 3 and 4. So that does limit the amount that you can really save up for like a Super Saiyan. Is that copyrighted? A Super Saiyan blast of Whirling Blades is like the Berserker or the Rogue or whatever you might do. But you can really mix and match. You can plan out your turn to do what you want to, but you can also think about the round as a whole. And you can even think about your next turn and set up your action points so that you can do what you want to at that point. And this is really beneficial for support classes like your Cleric or your Bard. We're calling it the Troubadour because that word is awesome, and because that word is actually what it is. Troubadour is more etymologically correct than Bard, because you can save your AP and spend it reactively to help your allies on their turns, or to debuff your enemies on your enemies' turns. And if you're thinking that tracking AP for a bunch of different monsters sounds like a lot of work, you'd probably be right. That's why we're not giving AP to monsters. We're simulating it through MythCraft Monster Math, which just allows monsters to do some of the same kind of stuff, but formatted in a more streamlined way that takes less effort on the MC's part. The other place where we're really revolutionizing how combat works is with death and dying. I think it's so boring in so many games for you to fall unconscious when you start dying and then not have a chance to go out in like a heroic fashion. And so when you are down at 0 health, you don't fall unconscious. Instead, you start gaining death points. At the end of each of your turns with 0 health, you get a death point. If you have 0 health and would take damage, then you get 2 death points. Once you reach 8 death points, 9 if you're a catfolk, then you die. This allows for some of those more like really heroic moments like Boromir at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. Spoilers, sorry. It's been out for like a century. One does not simply spoil the end of Lord of the Rings. But it has been out for like ever. And I want to touch briefly on our magic system as well. We've got 5 sources of magic that interact with each other in different fashions. So you've got arcane, divine, occult, primal, and psionic, and each of them are stronger than 2 of the others and weaker than 2 of the others. So there's like a cosmic rock, paper, scissors going on there. Each of your spells cost a certain amount of action points to cast, which does mean you can cast like 5 spells on a turn if you have enough action points for it. Spells also cost a certain number of spell points. Points. We love points. Which kind of replace like spell slots or mana. They're like your expendable resource to do the thing. So, you know, Fireball might cost like 4 action points and like 12 spell points. Something like that, right? And you just keep track of both and you get them back at the end of the day. Typical caster mana, like energy stuff. Depending on your source of your magic, we also have some things that you can do indefinitely, like the Divine Source has prayers. You can use prayers as many times as you want per day, and they'll do small things like, a weak attack on an enemy or a weak buff to an ally, whatever it might be. And you can learn rituals, which can only be done a certain number of times per day, specified by each ritual, and they can achieve a wide variety of effects, like passive buffs to yourself or your allies, or some of them are even like combat oriented, but they take hours to cast. So, you might be back on a cliff or on a tower like Saruman sending the thunder clouds at Gandalf, whatever that might be. That's That's where aggressive rituals come into play. But anyway, you've got your spells, which are typically used in combat. They take AP and SP. You've got your prayers or incantations, depending on your source, whatever it might be, that you can use as many times as you want. And you've got your rituals that don't cost spell points, but they are still limited in the number of times you can use them. So what are you most excited about with MythCraft? I would love for you to comment. I'm assuming that there'll be places to comment down here. Get in touch with us. Go to discord.gg/thehomebrewdnd. That's the best place to consistently be in contact with us. That's where we are developing MythCraft. Follow our Kickstarter, MythCraftRPG.com. At the time of recording this, we're very close to hitting our second stretch goal, which will introduce 2 new classes to our game, 4 more lineages, a bunch of more occupations. Lots of great stuff. Follow along. Let us know. Do you want to hear more about combat? Do you want to hear more about the monsters? Do you want to hear more about the classes and lineages? I'll do videos on all of it, any of it, whatever you want to hear about. Just let us know. We would love to hear from you. Discord is the best place to get lots of day-to-day interaction. I'm there almost 24/7. The rest of the team is as well. Can't wait to hear from you.